Customer acquisition and cash flow management are two major stumbling blocks which can prevent even the most ingenious business idea from developing into a thriving enterprise. We've invited John Attridge, the founder and CEO of BBX UK and Ireland, into the studio to explain how joining an online spare capacity bank can sort out both for you. Hello, John.
Hi, Rachel.
Now, explain to me, how is BBX similar to a traditional bank?
It operates in the same format. You get a statement and all the other things that go with a traditional bank account. But imagine walking into a branch today. You owned a business and you were asking the bank manager for a loan. You wanted the loan to be interest-free, and you would like the bank to work with you to send you new customers into your business to help repay the loan.
Sounds great.
And that's exactly what we do.
How do you do that?
By becoming part of a preferred supplier community, which is what BBX is. So people join the platform and do business with one another before looking outside the group. So if you owned a hotel, someone who wanted to come and stay in that hotel would come to your hotel rather than the hotels that are not on the platform.
So you're utilising underused capacity?
Yes, we call it spare capacity, and that's the ability to take on more business without increasing your fixed overhead. So in the case of a hotel, you know, the building's there, the maintenance is already done, the receptionist's paid, all the fixed costs there, the heating, the lighting, everything else is on, irrespective of whether there's an unsold bedroom tonight or not. Being able to promote that unsold bedroom into the community turns that unsold bedroom into what we call BBX money, which is accounted for like £1 here in the UK.
So if we were to use that hotel analogy, you might, if you're a hotel with spare rooms, discount, after 7 o'clock in the evening, for example, but you don't believe in that. Tell me why not?
Things like Groupon and 50% off deals and all sorts of things only encourage bad customers, because those customers aren't loyal. They only want to come and do business with you when you've got a deal on. And then the second thing is that they tell their friends, and unless the friends get the same deal, you ended up with what used to be £100 a night. Everybody won't come unless it's 50.
So you're perpetuating a situation that you don't wish, which isn't good for business.
Correct.
So in that case, what sort of companies work with BBX?
A full range, if those are old enough to remember, say, Yellow Pages and the old index in there. So it could be anything from a professional like a lawyer or an accountant or a barrister or a dentist, a tradesperson, it could be a retailer, it could be a mechanic, it could be a hotel, a restaurant, generally in the SME, small to medium-sized enterprise sector. So people with turnovers of up to probably 10 million, employing up to perhaps 50 staff.
Okay, and if we were to look at all those different businesses, they have new customers at different points, they have different cash flow at different points. How can you help them address those situations at different points in their life cycle? That's
a good question, because generally people go through startup phase in their business where they've got no customers at all. They've got all the overhead, irrespective of any income that's coming in. Then they move into sort of a growth phase in their business where they've been doing okay, but then they want to take that next step to scale up a little bit. Then they fall into problems with recruitment and staff training and all sorts of things. And then they get to the end of their lifetime of their business and think, how am I going to exit this business now? Am I going to sell it? Am I going to walk away from it? And so BBX helps people who want to either grow their business, get a better lifestyle from running their business, or sell it for more at the end of a given period of time.
How?
A couple of ways. So by promoting the spare capacity opportunity into the business, take a startup business, it's got a lot of spare capacity. So if you just started a web design business today and you didn't have any customers and you could take on 30, you've got nothing to start with, then you could promote that opportunity into our platform. Someone in the platform that wanted a web site designed would come to you because you're part of the community. You would do the website, you get paid in our currency, so you'd have a new customer, and then you'd have that currency to go and buy things like marketing or go on holidays or whatever it happened to be that you wanted to pay an accountant, that you wanted to help start and grow your business. It's all about new customers and getting better cash flow.
And we have to be paid in your currency.
Correct. So just imagine a bit like PayPal. You're getting paid in another currency in addition to what you have now. At the moment, if you're a hotel and you've got an unsold room, it's worth nothing. So if you joined the platform and sold one of those rooms that was going to be worth nothing, and you now have some BBX money that you can then spend with anybody else in the community globally. It's an alternative or a complementary currency that adds on to what you're currently doing, not in replacement of.
And so are you a subscription-based service?
Yeah, people choose an account, then we take a fee every time you get some work. So there's not too many people, if you consider us to be a marketing type company, that get paid on a result-only basis, and that's exactly how we operate.
So what makes a business eligible for an interest-free loans, which we must all wish we had?
Well, interest-free, and also no time limit on repayment. So you pay when you have spare capacity, which is another interesting facet, because if you take out a traditional loan other than the interest component, you always end up with more month than money. And the banks send you a statement at the end of that month, irrespective of what your cash flow is. And here in the UK, generally speaking, from 1,000 up to about £100,000 is the credit lines that are issued.
Okay, so if we've done some business with you and we have BBX currency, can we turn that into a local currency?
There are 17 different ways of doing that, but not directly. So you just can't turn up to the hole in the wall and put a card, because we don't even have a card. It's all held on an app. Our payment gateway is all done online, but there are ways of doing it. An example is recently we had a person who bought some real estate, some property. So they used their BBX currency to put down a deposit on £1 million property. And then they've now sold that property on into the big wide world, and therefore every BBX pound that they used to acquire that property has been turned back into sterling, plus some, because the actual property went up in value.
So tell us about how a company using BBX currency could perhaps sell itself for more than its value if it wasn't using BBX currency.
Perhaps I can do that, Rachel, with a case study. So I had a customer who had a lighting business, so selling ice chandeliers and what have you. They joined the BBX community, and when I first talked to them, they said, well, I'm going to be trying to sell the business, so I don't think BBX would be of any use. And I said, well, what are you going to be doing? And they said, well, we're going to be selling the business. That's our aim. So I said, oh, okay. So we brought them onto the platform in a short period, and it was only like 6 months. They sold £48,000 worth of additional light stock that was just sitting around as stock. That increased their revenue for the year. And then when they went to sell their business, because they were selling their business on a multiple of the last year's turnover, I got a testimonial from them that said, as a direct result of being part of BBX community, they got £48,000 sterling of an additional sale price for their business. And in their retirement, they had £48,000 of BBX money to go and enjoy in staying in hotels and restaurants and get a better lifestyle in their retirement years. Okay,
and you've been around for over a quarter of a century now. What do you see for the next 5 years of the business?
Well, it's really interesting. I was talking to someone just earlier and talking about the global financial crisis, and we went from 0 to about 10,000 customers during those first lot of years, and we've gone from that to 10 times that today. And it's probably down to a couple of things. It's the new age of communication via the internet, the things like apps that enable us to connect with people, communicate, mobile phones. When we started, we didn't even have a mobile phone. So the other thing that's happening in the world, that I think a growing amount of people, particularly business owners, are getting increasingly uncomfortable with the existing bank sector. How banks traditionally, and today particularly, not so friendly with terms of lending money to business. We're providing an alternative to segue into that niche in the banking sector. So I think that's going to be a big growth market in the next 5 years plus.
John, thank you very much for coming in and sharing that with us today.
It's been my pleasure.